The Extra Point with Ryan Justice is sponsored by The Phone Medic. For the best in cell phone, tablet, or laptop repairs, The Phone Medic is the only choice for you. The Phone Medic also offers gaming PCs and laptops for both gamers and everyday users. Visit one of the 3 Phone Medic locations in Amarillo, Canyon, and their new location in Lubbock today. Hello, football fans! Welcome to The Extra Point with Ryan Justice.
Professional football in America is a special game, a unique game. Played nowhere else on earth, it is a rare game. The men who play it make it so.
Hey, Sully, man, I hope I never get back in there. I'm gonna kick your ass. Hey, baby, let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs. Have some fun. Pick it up. Don't stop. Pick it up. Let's go. Get after the ball. Tattoo somebody.
Regulators, mount up. We're coming.
Pro football is a mirror of early America, reflecting toughness, courage, and self-denial.
There he is. Whoa. Good job. Good job.
I just want to make a play out there, buddy. Nice job.
Overpowered too. Ready?
45 blast. 45 blast. Keep on playing at this level now. Keep it up, baby. Keep it up.
We're going to be here all day, baby.
Hang in there, little buddy. They're coming at you. Better smile.
Is this fun or what?
The game is wide open, not confined. X's and O's on a blackboard are translated into imagination on the field. It can be one man rising above the obscurity of the grim, no-glory duty of special teams. It is a lineman clawing through the carnage at the scrimmage line and devouring a quarterback.
Round right. Fox 2 run on set. Ready?
The game is perpetual motion. A swirl of flying bodies in constant collision. A 2.5-hour carnival of color, sound, and action.
I got a little something for you.
There's glory in the legends of this hard muscle life, and there's poetry in each season made of sweat and strife. But now's the time to work and strain at a sport that tests the spirit and challenges the brain.
Come on. Let's go.
Yeah, I'd like to have 75 degrees and sunny all the time too, but that's not football.
Do you fear the force of the wind, the slash of the rain?
We're going to play us through light and rain.
Go face them and fight them. Be savage again.
Lights your fireman, the pilot lights out.
This football team is coming into our place. They're standing in our way.
This is a game of the heart. Focus and finish.
A time for achievement, a time for purpose, a time for glory.
Boy, if that does not get you hyped, I don't know what is. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, week 1 is here. And right now, it is the Extra Point. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so excited. 48 hours from now, we will be knee-deep in Chiefs-Ravens, kicking off the NFL season. Then the next day, we got Eagles-Packers in Brazil and a full slate of games on Sunday. The NFL season is here. You can smell it in the air. The great John Fashinda getting us started here on the Extra Point, bringing in Andrew Martinez, my co-host, for tonight. Andy, man, no better way to get hyped.
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, if you don't like that, if that doesn't get you fire lit under you, then I don't know what will. But yeah, week one, we're here. We're about to start watching some football every week, start talking about it every week, and man, yeah, I'm excited for it to finally be here.
We spent most of August setting the stage for this week, and week one is honestly my favorite week of the NFL season. I kind of break it up. Week one is my absolute favorite week in the NFL season, but October is probably my favorite time. And then, of course, week 18 is all sorts of chaos. But man, what's your favorite part? What's your favorite stretch of the NFL season?
I mean, I think after, I always, first part's always great, but man, you always see after like the holidays, the Thanksgiving into Christmas when those teams are really beat up and maybe they've had some tough losses, maybe they're riding the high of a win. You really kind of see what they're made of in that back half of that season. I think after those holiday games is really where you start to see the nitty gritty football that I like to see. See teams really see what they're made of and try to make a run at the end of that season.
It's only week one, but there's already a lot to talk about going into this week. First off, so we're going to get started with hot topics. This one I'm kind of calling an audible on a little bit. We saw it in the preseason and it was talked about a lot, but now we get to see how it's going to be used in the regular season. The new dynamic kickoff makes its regular season debut on Thursday night. What are your thoughts on the new kickoff?
I mean, we obviously we saw it during the preseason. I think now that, all of our starters are going to be out there. I think, this first week and this first couple of weeks are really, we're going to see some teams who've probably practiced this more often than others, in the off season. And as we get ready for this to really take advantage of the new rule set to be able to maybe, make these returns something to watch instead of, it's it's gonna be a touchback. We're gonna wait. Maybe now we're gonna be every time that the ball's in the air, like it could come back all the way. So
Yeah, and I mean, we saw some teams kind of having some trouble with the new kickoff. We have some teams kind of some special teams coordinators still trying to get around looking at how they're going to utilize this new kickoff. Some people have said it's hit. Some people have said it's not. I watched a lot of the XFL for the first two seasons to see how this new kickoff could work, and I'm just saying when you get guys at the highest of high level working on how to make this kickoff work, there's going to be some exciting plays made out of this. Just let it do its thing, and I think eventually, I know it's on a 1-year trial, but eventually I think it's gonna end up being a permanent thing in the NFL.
yeah, I think like I said, I think these first couple of weeks, someone's gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna figure it out and show it. Oh, hey, we're dangerous. Our special teams are good. It's gonna, you got to watch out. And once someone figures it out, then it'll spread to the rest of the league. But I think the first couple times, people are. It's gonna be. I don't know. Is it gonna hit? But once it hits, I think people are gonna be like, oh, okay.
We
Like
saw
anything new, like anything new, it's gonna take some time.
And we saw some we saw some good returns in the preseason on it. So I think teams definitely, I would say definitely by middle of next month, we're gonna start seeing some guys figure it out and figure out how to utilize this new kickoff. Before we move on into hot topics, just wanted to thank our sponsor, the Phone Medic of Canyon, Amarillo, and Lubbock. Guys, go check out Gabe. Go check out the Phone Medic. If you need gaming laptop, PC, phone needs, tablet needs, go check out Gabe. He's going to hook you up. He's going to get you taken care of. Tell him you heard it right here on the Extra Point. Also want to say, hit that like, share, subscribe button, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on YouTube or Twitch. Make sure you get the word out. We're still trying to get that 50 subscriber mark. We're about 28 away over on Twitch, so we can start doing some really cool subscription stuff. Giveaways, things like that. Hopefully arriving within the next year or so. But a lot to talk about going into week one, like I said. So we had some contract moves. CeeDee Lamb signs, but Ja'Marr Chase still showing up to practice in street clothes. CeeDee Lamb, probably one of the biggest ones to drop. We had some other big ones today. Trent Williams with the 49ers. He gets the deal done as well. So I believe there's only one holdout with the Jets, and that was Hassan Reddick, who was actually traded to the Jets and is now holding out as well. So a couple of the big names still kind of on the board. Ja'Marr Chase is, man, do you think this stretches into the season?
I mean, we're pretty late. If you were going to make a move, if you were going to get the deal done, I mean, you should have it. Again, I know we're waiting to the last minute with Williams and Ayuk. We're waiting to the very last second, but I still see how this, unless you get it resolved in the next day or so, I have a feeling it'll bleed in the season, at least the first week.
Well, I mean, if you're the Niners, especially with Trent Williams, getting that deal done with with that was very important because the Niners were not good without him on the line at all last year. And you want your starting left tackle out there. CeeDee Lamb getting it done is big because he might be Dak Prescott's only weapon on the Cowboys this year. Jamar Chase is big though, and Jamar Chase is one that I think it's kind of indicative of how the Bengals are run in the front office wise. I was listening to a couple people today talking about how the Bengals may have lucked into guys like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon and kind of the success that they've had over the last few years. And I mean, we saw in the communication where you had Zach Taylor saying, yeah, Jamar Chase is going to practice today. And then he shows up 13 minutes late in street clothes. So I mean, I know I predicted Cincy to win this division, but that was on the premise that Jamar Chase was going to be there. If he holds out, how do you look at this Bengals team going forward?
I mean, he's a huge factor in it. I mean, I just don't. I mean, if you don't have Chase, then everyone else is gonna have to step up. You're gonna have to have someone be that number one receiver for Burrow, so you can make some plays. But I mean, that's definitely a huge asset you're missing if they can't get the deal done, quickly for sure.
No, and the thing is that they already had contract issues with T. Higgins. They had contract issues with Joe Mixon, where he was either going to be cut or traded. He eventually ended up getting traded. I think the only contract that they had that went smoothly was Joe Burrow's. And since he's got to get this done because they had a slow start last year, Joe Burrow's coming off an injury. It cost them the playoffs. And I don't see Cincinnati being any kind of successful without Jamar Chase or T. Higgins on the field at the same time. They're already going to have to navigate no Joe Mixon.
Yeah, I think so too. I think if they, like I said, they can't get that deal done, man. Again, Burrows is coming off that injury. He's coming, trying to get a fresh start going. But when your primary target's gone and you haven't had the time to develop that with anybody else, I'm not sure what you're going to do.
They lost they lost a lot on defense too. They already had a leaky offensive line, and you lose some of the key pieces on defense and along the defensive line. That spells trouble for a lot of teams, and you're already in one of the most competitive divisions in the league, where it's a division that some people were talking about all four teams going to the playoffs at one point. And you have to have every piece available to you on the field if you are going to even have a chance in that division.
No, absolutely. I mean, there's not an inch to give. If you don't have all of your weapons ready to go, you're just gonna get demolished.
Yeah.
It's just not gonna be good for you. Yeah. So without Jamar Chase, I don't know. I don't know how they get it done.
Speaking of number one receivers, Brandon Ayuk finally gets the deal done after looking for trade partners all offseason, seemingly. Ayuk stays in San Francisco. I believe it was a 4-year, $120 million contract, looking at about $30 million a year, making him one of the top 5 paid receivers in the league. Brandon Ayuk getting the deal done. San Francisco keeping another key piece of their offense intact. How big is this deal for Ayuk to stay in San Francisco?
I mean, it's huge for us. I think it's without Ayuk, he really, the way he stepped up at the end of, last year, trying to switch, have him go from, have him the number one, then go to, Debo, just wasn't, I don't know how well that would have been worked out for Debo. Don't get me wrong. Debo's great, but man, we utilize him, on the ground, in the air so much. To have a guy like Ayuk who can make those big plays, who can have that, it's just exciting that we got that deal done when we did. I know he was holding out, and I'm glad we were able to figure that out.
Ayuk just makes that offense so much more dynamic because you do have two bona fide legitimate ground threats with Christian McCaffrey and Debo Samuel. You got George Kittle in the tight end position. Of course, you have Ayuk on at the wide receiver position, kind of can take the top off of defenses. Then you got, speaking of defenses, you had Bosa. You got that great defensive line. You have a great defense. San Francisco, if they want to keep this window open, I know salary cap only allows you to do so much, but they have to keep as many guys on this roster that are still in their prime as possible. And keeping Brandon Ayuk is right in line with that.
And I know in his deal, he's definitely we definitely backloaded it, on the back end of that. So, I think now is the time. He makes a little less this season, makes more, towards the end of his contract. So I think this is a good deal to get done, to win now, because if we don't win this, in this year, maybe next, like, we're going to have to pay we're going to hit the limit. We can't keep making these deals to extend these contracts, to hit the salary cap. We're hitting it, we're making moves to benefit everyone, but we've built a team. We're pulling off last year. We've built the team to keep that going this year with our money wise, so we can have the best chance to win it.
And they got some big decisions to make because Brock Purdy's coming up very soon. I believe after the season, Brock Purdy's coming up.
Yeah, that rookie contract's coming to an end for sure. And if he shows what he did last season and into this season, obviously he's gonna want we got to pay the guys.
He's going to be top paid, probably top paid quarterback in the league. Which you said something interesting there, which is they backloaded that Ayuk deal. If saying that, with the Brock Purdy deal coming up, I imagine Debo is going to come up again soon. McCaffrey is going to come up at some point. I would imagine this trade talk with Brandon Ayuk is not done yet. I would imagine in the next 2 years, next 2 years, we're going to be hearing about the Niners, if they don't get it done, possibly trying to offload that contract onto another team for Ayuk, hopefully still playing in his prime.
Yeah, I think so. I think if he has a productive year this year, that still gives us, I know our trade options towards the end of that were becoming less and less the longer he held out. So, as long as he stays healthy and productive this year, if we don't win it, then he still becomes a valuable asset that we can move around to somebody else.
And the crazy thing is that he didn't change any of the original deal he was actually offered at all. That's the thing that kind of makes me raise an eyebrow a little bit, is because it sounded like he was trying to squeeze a little bit more money out of places like the Steelers and the Commanders. And it was actually, from what I understood, he actually took less than what they were offering him. It was a weird deal all around. Moving on. So we heard this from Jerry Jones. He had some choice words over the past week. But one of the big things that he said, Cowboys fans, y'all might want to cover your ears for this, is that Jerry Jones has basically declared himself GM for life. That no other person could do what he does with that team.
I mean, he's very, like the NWO. It's for life, and he's going to die in that position, man. He's, and you want to talk about, oh, no one else can do this. Then why did it take you so long to get a deal done with Lamb? Like, if you're the only one who could do this, he should have been on your radar from the very beginning of the offseason. It shouldn't take this long. And again, that's the thing, the definition of insanity is, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Like, well, what can you do? Like, he's never going to let it go. He's going to die, he's going to die in that stadium. His kids are going to, God only knows, but yeah, until you get someone who can, manage and build and want to, make the most of what you got and not just rely on the same old thing every time, what's going to happen for the Cowboys? Nothing new is going to happen.
Well, and the thing is that, okay, they got the Lamb deal done, but they are still in contract hell. You still got Parsons. You still got Parsons coming up. Dak still isn't done. We don't know if this is Dak's last season in Dallas to begin with. I honestly, they say they're working on it, but I don't see Dak signing anytime soon. If he hasn't signed by the time they take the snap on Sunday, Thanksgiving might be the closest I could see them signing him. Obviously he could sign at any time. We could get that news right now in the show. But they, like you said, they had all off season to get this deal done, to get these deals done. But if they weren't working on these deals, then why weren't they going after other free agents? Why weren't they going after other pieces that they could add to the puzzle if they were in win now mode? And I don't think they are. Or I think they want to be, but when you look at the makeup of the roster and the salary cap and where they are contract wise, they're not. They look very much like a team at the end of the rope.
Yeah, I mean, they're not even you can't even call them a team that's like, oh, we're in the win later. We're building towards something, because they didn't do enough in the offseason to make huge moves to, okay, we're gonna, really build this and cultivate this for maybe not this year, maybe the next year, maybe the year after that. But like, I mean, you're relying on guys, who may or may not be happy, where they're at, trying to do the best they can. And you have Jerry just like,
Stand back.
I mean, again, you have a guy, you keep the same, Garrett stayed for way too long in his position. That just shows you what Jerry wants to do. He'll keep McCarthy in there forever. Every year there's going to be the talk about, oh, if he doesn't win, he's actually out. Jerry hasn't shown that. Jerry will keep McCarthy in there until he really screws it up.
Or, I mean, Jerry gets tired of him. That's the thing is, and I think that's where Jerry's at right now. You had 3 straight 12-5 seasons, but you're a team that can't really they're 12-5, but you're probably getting 8 of those wins against teams over, under 500, way under 500 in some cases. And then 2 of those wins are actually barely scraping by the teams that are actually supposed to be there. Or if they are a team that's supposed to be there, they're collapsing late in the season, or it's a controversial call. They can't keep surviving like this. And McCarthy's made some bad calls himself in game. It's not like he's not at fault, but Jerry's impatient. And a lot of people, we talked about this when we previewed the East. A lot of people are kind of saying McCarthy is being looked at as a lame duck coach. And personally, I think it would be hilarious if they hired Belichick just to see how that dumpster fire would go between Jerry and Bill Belichick. But if I'm a Cowboys fan, I would be dreading that.
Yeah, I just don't. I mean, I don't think. I know, everyone's like, Belichick, he could do something, but no, I think between the way Belichick runs and the office runs, I mean, that's gas. That's oil and water, man. It's never going to mix, no matter how well you want it to. And I think McCarthy. I mean, how can you argue that he isn't a lame duck coach? I mean, again, he should be, with the talent of teams that he's had, he should be way more, covered in hardware, but he's not.
With the talent of teams with the talent that has rolled through the Cowboys over the last several years, they should at least have, at least a Lombardi,
Yeah.
And to me, it all points, as I said this on 806 Sports yesterday, it points back at the front office. If you think about all the talent, Hall of Famers that have rolled through there, and the fact that it is the same result year in, year out, it all points back to the front office. Well, Andy, this is the first time you're going to get to do this. We're going to, since we're switching into regular season mode, we're going to do this each week. It's called a little thing I like to call 3 up and 3 down. Is where we take 3 people, 3 things, 3 situations. It could be anything we kind of want, football related or not sometimes, that we say, hey, it's 3 up, 3 down. We're adding a little twist to it this year. So we're going to go into our first up, which is Caleb Williams in Chicago. Man, he had a heck of a preseason. He's walking into a loaded Chicago Bears team, one of the best Chicago Bears teams I've seen in a while. And he opens up against the Tennessee Titans team that looks very beatable.
Yeah, I think the Caleb Williams, I think this jolt of new life that they have and the excitement in Chicago, I mean, I think he can help carry this team to be something pretty exciting this year. I think with this, they're in Soldier Field to start off with. That home crowd is going to be deafening in Chicago. So I think to start off at home against, a not so great Tennessee team, I think that he's going to show that like he could be a dynamic player, and I think he's gonna has a lot of upside.
I think we're gonna get a lot of Caleb Williams buzz out of this game. But it is a good test. Tennessee still does have a good defense, but I mean it's a new head coach, new system. Will Levis still has some things to answer himself, although they did go out and get him a bunch of weapons. That's going to be a game that I think a lot of people are going to have their eyes on Sunday. But Caleb Williams, man, I got to watch a couple of plays, a couple of series that he had out of the preseason, and I'm not gonna lie, I was iffy on him coming out of the draft, but if he can replicate what he did in the preseason, man, I mean his ceiling is rookie of the year. And his floor, I don't know how much lower his floor is, but below that. I picked him to go 7-10, but I think they're going to be a scrappy 7-10. They don't have an easy schedule, but if Caleb Williams matures over the season, man, he could really turn the Bears into something.
I think so. I think anyone that you hear who is who is a Bears fan, I know they're real pumped for it. I think you can see it online if you're kind of looking and stuff. You can really see that he's bringing an excitement that you haven't seen Bear fans who are okay, maybe we got this year and we can make a real challenge for it.
Next up on the up list, we got the Atlanta Falcons. They move on from Arthur Smith in the offseason, bring in Raheem Morris, and bring in Kirk Cousins while drafting the quarterback of their future, possibly. They're a team that is loaded with talent. They were really good at home last year. They have a good defense. Just seemed like they really needed a quarterback to get it going. I'm up on the Atlanta Falcons this week, and I think they're going to come out strong.
Yeah, I think the Falcons. I think with the Cousins being being that rock solid quarterback, you know what you're going to get from him. He's battle tested. He's been in there. He's been in those big situations. So I think they take what they had last year and bring a solid quarterback in there while again gearing up for the future and see obviously they can bring him in every once in a while. Depends on how they do, but I think Cousins is going to lead them to be a successful team.
The big question, and I think this is one reason why they drafted Penix. The big question is going to be how he comes off of that ACL, because he is an older quarterback. He is coming off a torn ACL, but he is coming into a new system. So the good thing is that you've got a running back like Bijan Robinson. You've got Drake London, you've got Kyle Pitts. So you've got pieces around you that could prop up Kirk Cousins. Should he take some time getting ready? Should he take some time getting back to himself from that torn ACL? Next up, and this one's we're handing out awards for the first time on 3 Up, 3 Down. This one's top of the mountain. And of course, we have to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. Super Bowl champions, probably in the best position, I think, to pull off the first ever three-peat in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've said it, in the preview that, I mean, they know how to win. Mahomes is gonna make it happen. Kelsey's gonna, always be there. He's gonna, be that big time player that they need. I mean, even we saw it in the, in the preseason game. Throwing crazy passes behind you and making catches. Yeah, it's a preseason game, but still, that's the thing that Mahomes can do with Kelsey before. Even these just I'm going to make a play happen and somehow it's successful. I think that it's hard to bet against the Chiefs. They have they are the back-to-back champs for a reason, and they're going to go in here on Thursday, don't run with against a tough Ravens team, and we'll see if they have a slow start like last year, dropping that first game to Detroit, and then making their way back up, or if they're just going to come out and start trying to steamroll everybody.
That's the thing, is that the Chiefs do kind of they do like that slow start. They do like to get started slow, keep pace, but not necessarily start running away with things until later on in the year. But you're coming out against a Baltimore Ravens team that if things start clicking and the moves that they made pay off, you could see them again in the playoffs. And, I think that you definitely want to establish the pace early. They got upset last year that I think just kind of took it out on everybody. But this is a chance, I think, for Kansas City to really kind of put the Ravens in their place. Week 1, right out of the gate, a loud as hell Arrowhead Stadium. And you kind of, of course, they're going to be trying to show off Derrick Henry. The Chiefs had a great defense last year. And this is the march to 3. They got a lot of momentum going for them. And there's a reason that they're the Super Bowl champs. So we went 3 up. Now we got to go 3 down. First up on the down list, we're going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They got 2 quarterbacks, and you know the saying, when you got 2 quarterbacks, you really don't have any quarterbacks. They named Russell Wilson the starter, and Russ did not have a good preseason. The couple series he was out there, the drive stalled. He couldn't really get anything going. There's reports that he's not really wanting to be a team player, or he's trying to do things that he clearly can't do. And a lot of people were saying Justin Fields was the better quarterback on the Steelers roster. Some people are even starting to predict when Russell Wilson is going to get benched. I mean, how bad do you think it gets in the quarterback room for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year?
Man, it's hard to say. I think I wouldn't have put Russ, in the number 1 quarterback position. Maybe I would have put Fields in there, and the Fields, decides to slip a banana peel and not do so great. Okay, then we have our veteran who can, maybe help us, bring life back into it. But I would bring our newer guy in there. But I mean, I don't think that's a surprise of hearing that he's not the greatest team player. I mean, you heard, stories from Marshawn Lynch, even when he was playing with Marshawn, that he didn't talk to anybody, that he had to go through agents to hear from him, that he wasn't associated with teams, really his teammates. I don't think you heard anything. I don't remember seeing anything when he was in Denver saying, oh yeah, Russ is that locker room leader. He's what's leading us, So to hear that, I'm not super surprised. I'm not, I think maybe it's just Tomlinson being like, hey, we're going to take our vet in, we're going to take the more veteran quarterback, and, maybe the sure thing that, we can win with. And maybe that's what the style that he wants to go with. But I don't really think that's a great choice for sure.
Next up on the down list, we're going to go with Nick Chubb, running back from Cleveland, starting the year on the PUP list, going to miss at least the first 4 games, but I imagine he might not be back until midseason. Nick Chubb having that bad injury last year. And if I'm being honest, the way Nick Chubb plays, I'm not sure he comes back the same player.
No, I don't know how. I don't know how you do. I mean, I think that's a huge loss. And then trying to come in at, if he's okay at week 5, man, that's a tough ask for anybody.
The thing is that they may need him, because who knows what Deshaun Watson's going to be? Who knows if Deshaun Watson is even going to come close to what he used to be? He's only played 12 games in what, the 3 years he's been with the Browns, and they've had to rely on Nick Chubb a lot. The good thing is they have a very tough, a very physical defense, and that can help get them out of a lot of situations. But not having Nick Chubb for at least the first 4 weeks, I mean, Cleveland, we'll see. You'll see what I think of them once we get to game previews. But it's definitely not going to be easy at all for the Browns. Now we gave an award for the ups. We got to give an award for the down. The first ever Factory of Sadness goes to the New York Jets. And there's been a lot of reports, some agent reports. I believe there was an article, I saw it on Bleacher Report. I believe it was reposted from The Athletic, showing that Aaron Rodgers has definitely kind of disassociated himself from the team. He's tried to run the team. It's tried to be all about Aaron Rodgers. There's already some dysfunction and turmoil on the Jets, and it might only be a matter of time before we see that spill out onto the field. On top of that, you heard the crazy stories last year before he got traded, that he had a wish list of players that he wanted to get signed before he got there. He wanted Nathaniel Hackett as his offensive coordinator. Oh, where do we begin with the New York Jets and Aaron Rodgers?
I mean, I think not, it's not that he has disassociated himself from the team. That he's dissociated himself from reality. The man, I mean, talk about just, whether you want to call it an egomaniac, a narcissist, something. If he thinks that, he's God's gift to football, but has he really? I mean, don't get me wrong. If you look at the stats, it's great, but he only has one ring.
He hadn't made it back.
It's never made it close, really. I mean, you got guys who have done more in less time with, you know, maybe even at times weaker teams, and he'll never take the blame himself. He never wants to, it's always, oh, my coaches, the receivers, no one's wanting to put the work in. I think he just needs to, take his ayahuasca, lock himself in his closet, and then we never have to hear from him again.
I mean, I'm kind of hoping this is the last year we see Aaron Rodgers, but we'll see how this plays out. I don't think this is going to play out. For Jets fans who are excited that Aaron Rodgers is going to be back, I'm not. I'm pumping the brakes on all the Jets hype from this. But yeah, keep an eye out because I'm pretty sure this isn't going to be the first story that we hear out of the Jets organization about Aaron Rodgers. So that does it for 3 Up, 3 Down. We're going to move on to our next segment. Another first for you, Andy. This is going to be called Buy or Sell. I'm going to throw a take at you. We're going to see if we both buy or sell. If you've ever watched Around the Horn, borrowing it from them. I heard a sad thing that Around the Horn is ending. That's a end of an era, man. I mean, come on.
That is an end of an era for sure. That's, you hate to see that kind of stuff that who've been around for, for a long time, and it's definitely sad for sure.
Yeah, I mean, so we'll continue the legacy here on the Extra Point. So buy or sell. First up, may have been a little biased on this one. Buy or sell CJ Stroud for MVP.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, ooh. That's a tough one. He had a great season last year. He showed up great. I might be buying. I might be buying a couple stocks. I'm not investing everything in that, but it wouldn't be good. It would be good to have some of those kind of around to, maybe cash out later on for sure.
I'm going to buy it because I think one of two things is going to happen. I think the Texans either make the AFC Championship game and whether they win it or not. I think if they make the AFC Championship game but don't make the Super Bowl, Stroud's going to have good. That means Stroud's having good enough numbers to get them there. And he's got the offense to do so. He's going up against a very tough schedule. It's a top 5 schedule in terms of strength. And one thing that I think could determine this, and don't get me wrong, the odds of this I think aren't great. But if the Texans are in position for the playoffs in the AFC, and he goes 3-0 in that stretch of games over Christmas where they play Miami, Kansas City, and Baltimore all in a row, if he goes 3-0 and that locks up the number 1 seed for Houston, that might lock up the MVP for CJ Stroud.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that little string of games is going to be a tough one. That's what I'm saying. When you ask the early question, favorite part of the year, that holiday season, man, that's when you're going to see these guys. You're going to see, the Texans have that run of, okay, how tough are we? How good at this game are we? How can we win? Even when we shouldn't. That's the kind of football we like to see. So I think, yeah, I mean, if he continues to have the season that he had last year, yeah, absolutely, I think he can do it.
You ready for Christmas games on Netflix?
I mean, I think someone had, I saw it somewhere online, the breakout of how many different streaming services you have to pay for if you want to watch every game. I'm like, well, luckily, besides the Sunday ticket, I don't have that. I think I have everything else, but
I mean, if you have NFL Plus, unless there's some kind of agreement made, which even the Peacock only games are on NFL Plus. If you have NFL Plus, you're gonna see all the primetime games. So yeah. It was like $1,600. I think half of that was Sunday ticket.
Yeah, I think if they ever break it down, I know it's the Sunday ticket.
$100 a game.
Yeah, You know, I think
if you're following just your team.
I think, eventually I think to get more subscribers, you'll have packages, where you can subscribe just to the Texans, just to the Niners, just whoever, so you can watch your games. I think that's probably more the future of these streaming catalogs for sure. But yeah, trying to remember like what games again.
I believe
Thursdays on Peacock. Fridays on a different network. It's just everywhere.
When I saw something come out today that the NFL was looking to own Labor Day weekend, was eventually looking to have a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then the slate of Sunday games for week 1, which would be, oh my God. Yeah, that would be, I would love it. I don't know if the significant other would want me watching that much football. She already is a little pumping the brakes on how much we have already. Going on buy or sell 2 this year, the real Deshaun Watson shows up for the Cleveland Browns. Buy or sell?
I sell. Fire sale. I just don't believe it. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think so. Whoever, all the Deshaun Watson fans can, buy it up. I'll sell it to you for dirt cheap because it's not going to happen, man. It's not going to happen.
It's going to be interesting. I'm gonna lean sell on this, but you never know. I mean, Deshaun Watson was still putting up MVP numbers with the Texans, and I get all the stuff that happened. That has a vast effect on what you can do and your ability sometimes, but he can't stay healthy. And when he was out there, he's kind of getting the Aaron Rodgers thing where he's kind of blaming it on everything else but himself. And the fact that his attitude is leaned more, he's not the Deshaun Watson that came into the league, where he had this kind of humble story and he was giving his first checks to cafeteria workers and all that stuff. He's gone Hollywood. He's gone Hollywood, Deshaun Watson, and it's affected not just his everyday life, but it has affected how he plays on the field. And the thing is the Browns are not a bad team, and even if he just played 75% of what he was, that defense is good enough to carry them. That defense is good enough to get them to win them some games and keep them in position for Deshaun Watson to sporadically show what he used to be. But yeah, no, I'm selling the real Deshaun Watson shows up this year. Buy or sell 3, last one for tonight. Buy or sell. This is Dak Prescott's last year as a Dallas Cowboy.
Man, I'd buy. I think so. I just don't know if, again, you've had all this time. If Dak was your guy, and Jerry's always said that, yeah, Dak's my guy, but I don't know if he is going to get it done. I don't think once this year's done, man, there's going to be some hefty. Yeah, there's going to be, I guarantee you, there are going to be some hefty offers out there.
See, I'm going to sell it because this has all the makings of go test the market and then come back. I think he's got a no tag clause in his contract. Definitely a no trade clause unless Dak waives it. But this has all the makings of, go test the market. Go see if you can get the money that you think you can get, and we'll see if we can match it. I feel like, we're going to hear the rumblings of Dak Prescott being a free agent, especially if we draw this out into the year. If we get to Thanksgiving and Dak is not signed, then more than likely, especially if the Cowboys are out of it, more than likely, I think Jerry's going to let him test the market. But if he's not getting the $60 million a year contracts that he's looking for, I see him coming back and being a Dallas Cowboy. That to me is the most likely scenario with Dak Prescott.
How much do you think of, let's say maybe he doesn't make as much somewhere else, but you have, a coach, a GM, an owner who's willing to better build around you, then maybe not caught up in in these contracts like Jerry is and trying to how am I trying to make this team, someone who's really building for that, does that entice you to go somewhere else too?
Well, the thing is, I don't know if Dak's going to want to go to a place that he's going to want to have to be built around. If he's going to go to a place like that, they better have a lot of cap space. They better be able to make some big moves. They better be able to make some trades in order to facilitate a team that Dak Prescott can go win with. For me, it's going to have to be if I'm really thinking about it, it's going to have to be a team that's going to have to be plug and play, where the team's already there. They've already got pieces in place for Dak Prescott to succeed, and all they need, it's one of those teams. The Broncos would have been a perfect example 2 years ago for Dak Prescott to go to them because all they needed was a quarterback. They thought that's what they were going to get with Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. But I mean, let's be honest. Right now, Dak's a better quarterback than both of those guys. But he is an older quarterback, and he is going to be demanding a lot of money. I mean, unless Sean Payton comes after him, but the Broncos don't have a whole lot of cap space to do so. That's the only place I really could see him going. I mean, maybe the Saints, maybe the Falcons. Like I don't see a whole lot of places where you can say insert Dak Prescott and you have a Super Bowl team. There's not a whole lot. A lot of the places you're either right there with the window open or you're rebuilding, which is why I think, okay, he'll go test the market. He'll get a team that's got a ton of cap space, but they were 4-13 last year, and they still have a lot that they need to build to build around you, but they're offering you $60 million a year. So I could see it being, okay, do I want to go to a team that might be relevant in 2 to 3 years, or do I want to stay with the Cowboys where we're just going to keep hammering away at the stone wall? That's why I'm telling. I don't think he's going to go.
Do you see a team who maybe should have had, who should have success, maybe doesn't? They decide, hey, we are making a U-turn. We're dumping who we have, and Dak's open. We're gonna make a run for it now. Instead of someone who's like, not great. What about, again, I don't know, maybe Miami, not, just kind of throwing this out there. Yeah. But not necessarily, but a team like that, who has weapons.
The only team that I could really see doing that, because he's on his last year of his contract, if he retires, the only team I could see doing that would be the Jets or possibly the Vikings. Because if he were to go to the Vikings with Aaron Jones and Justin Jefferson and Addison and Madison and the defense that they have, and Kevin O'Connell's he's a good offensive coach. Ooh, boy, that could be dangerous with Dak and the Vikings. But I don't think Jerry wants to go looking for another quarterback because he's not going to be in the position to, unless they absolutely stink up the joint this year, unless they are 3-14, 4-13, 5-12, something like that, where they're picking in the top 5, top 10. Jerry's not going to want to go looking for another quarterback. So somebody's going to have to money whip Dak Prescott to really get him away from Dallas. And I'll have to that's going to be one of those things where we take if he doesn't sign, that's going to be one of those things where we really take a look at some teams' cap space at the end of the year going into March. And if a team like the Jets, which they've got a lot of guys they've got to pay too, if a team like the Jets gets it done, or that's why I'm saying the Vikings would be an interesting one to watch to get Dak Prescott, because they've paid their guys. Jefferson is paid. Addison is on a rookie contract. Aaron Jones was affordable. Jonathan Grenard was your highest paid defensive guy. They've got a solid defense. Like I feel like if I had to pick a team for Dak to just kind of slide into, it would be Minnesota. So before we get to game previews, I want to again shout out to my sponsor, the Phone Medic of Amarillo, Canyon, and Lubbock. For you guys who need tech repair, laptop repair, PC repair, phone repair, tablet repair, tech repair in general, go to the Phone Medic of Amarillo Canyon and Lubbock. Say hey to Gabe. Tell him Ryan from the Extra Point sent you. Also, hit that like, share, subscribe button. Let's grow this show. Let's get more people watching it. We want to be able to do some really cool exclusive stuff on Twitch. So we want to get that follower count up on the Twitch platform. Also, shout out to 806 Sports Radio. Thank you guys for having me on yesterday to talk some football. We had some really good conversations about the Cowboys and Texans. It is over on the 806 Sports Radio page. Look for Monday 9-2. I start at about the hour and a half mark. So go give that a listen and go give 806 Sports Radio a shout out. So here we are, Andy. Week 1, game previews. It's time to put some things on the line. We're going to see what we got. Game previews, our lines are by ESPN Bet. So if you want to go check out the lines, there may have been some movement since yesterday. But they've been holding pretty steady. But it's time for game previews. We're going to start with the game we are probably going to be right in the middle of about the third quarter of in about 48 hours. Ravens-Chiefs. Chiefs are 3-point favorites at home as the defending Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably about right. Again, we're going to see, how dangerous, Baltimore can be, with adding Henry to that ground game. And, Lamar Jackson also knows how to, make things happen. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I'd predict the Chiefs to win. It's gonna. I feel like it is going to be a pretty close game.
It's year 2 in Todd Monken's offense. Baltimore's lost a few receivers, but they still have some talented ones out there. Still have Mark Andrews. For me, the story of this game is going to be how well does Baltimore hold up against the Chiefs defense, and how well does the Ravens defense, with all the pieces they lost, hold up against probably the best offense in the NFL right now. And I'm really surprised that 3 points. Well, I mean, Vegas does like the Ravens. They are kind of going off of data from last year. But I don't know if this is a 3-point game. I don't see this coming down to a last-second field goal. Unless, if it does, I'd rather have Justin Tucker. But, I mean, we'll go ahead and reveal our picks. I've got the Chiefs, but I'm taking the points, man. I've got the Chiefs by more than 3.
Yeah, I think, again, I think you brought up a good point about, seeing how that Ravens defense, those holes, see if they were able to fill those with guys who can, make it happen and be able to stop that Chiefs defense that, again, or the Chiefs offense that's, unstoppable. It's hard, especially late in the game. Again, you give Mahomes any chance, he's going to just walk it downfield to you.
Plus, they're playing at Arrowhead opening night. It's going to be loud. I don't think that the Ravens offense is built like the Lions was to get into a shootout with the Chiefs. But and that Chiefs defense is so good, man. I mean, they were top 3 in the league last year. They were just crushing people after it was kind of the narrative kind of got told that the Chiefs didn't really have a defense. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to bet against the Chiefs opening night in Arrowhead. Moving on, we got a Friday game this week. This one is we have an actual slate of evenly matched games this week. Green Bay at Philadelphia in Brazil. Eagles open up as 3-point favorites in this game, but they've made some changes. You heard about the kind of rift that was there between Hurts and Sirianni. Hopefully that got mended. They bring in, I believe, Matt Patricia as the defensive coordinator. Trade away guys like Hassan Reddick. Jason Kelce retires. And the Eagles kind of do what they do every year. Howie Roseman finds a way to reload this team, but Green Bay also reloaded as well.
Yeah, I think, with to watch the wheels fall off the car at the end for the Eagles, I mean, obviously you're losing a key member of that front line when with Kelsey retiring and and all the controversy between coaches and quarterback. It's just hard. I feel like they just lost all the momentum last season, and Green Bay's coming with some fire, pulling into the offseason and now into this year. So I
Green Bay's
think
got a lot of momentum.
I think so, and I think that's gonna, I think again they're still overall age wise. I mean they're a young team,
Mhm.
still. So I think especially with really no home court advantage. I think I like I like this game. I think I feel like it's going to be
It's gonna be a close
exciting
game.
to see. I think it's
This
going to be
one might
exciting to
be
see.
this one might be the one that doesn't beat the spread. I think this could be I can see this being a 1 or 2 point game, and it's going to come down to a couple key plays. I like the Eagles receivers versus what the Green Bay Packers have, but Green Bay's got a really good defense as well. And they've just got a ton of momentum on their side. So that's why I'm going with the Packers, and I think that's probably why you were going with them as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think they have all the like you said, they have all the momentum. With all the dysfunction that happened I mean, the self implosion that happened to Philadelphia, who were supposed to just be so dominant, and they were, but again, you're losing, your key center. Like, I don't care who
And,
you bring in, I don't
and
care
not
who
just a
you
key piece
have.
of the line, a key piece of the locker room, a key piece of the
Yeah,
culture, a key piece of the essence of that team that is gone off the field. And I don't want to say Philly gets off to a slow start, but Green Bay, man, it feels like that buzz that they had at the end of last year is carrying over.
I think so too. I'm totally agree. And that's why I went with the Packers for sure.
In another totally not homer move, the Texans travel to Indianapolis. They're 2 point favorites over the Indianapolis Colts. Big game. This is a divisional game to start off the season. It's actually the first time in franchise history that Houston has opened in Indy. And they open as 2.5 point favorites. All the additions that the Texans have added, all the changes that have been made, the momentum they have coming from last season, going to a Colts team that really was just one play away from sending the Texans to the wild card spot, and winning the division for themselves. This is going to be a close game, but it's only going to be close, I think, if Anthony Richardson starts to answer some of the questions he has about him.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're going to see how well he's able to start off this season and get going and see if he can be that quarterback that leads Indy to something pretty successful. Again, I think with CJ Stroud, man, again, we talked about earlier, he's in that MVP conversation. So obviously the Texans are going to go in to Indy and they're going to want to hit this hit the ground running as fast as they can, build on that momentum they had at the end of last year, show people like, oh, hey, we are the team from Texas who wants to win a title first. So I think that I think it's a good shot, man. I think it's a good call to for them to be ahead.
There are concerns about the Texans, and I mentioned this again yesterday on 806 Sports Radio. The offensive line and the run game, they're great. They're probably going to be really good in the pass game, but there has been some concerns with the Texans offensive line in the run game and the defensive line in the same breath. I mean, the last time they met, Jonathan Taylor hit him for 188 yards. And that was a close game. And they bring in Joe Mixon. They finally get their starting offensive line healthy. And you add a bunch of weapons on offense, but the Colts still have a really good defense. They didn't go after a bunch of free agents. What they did was they kept the key pieces of their team together. They were more focused on re-signing the great players that they already have because they felt like they had a good team versus adding big names to their roster. This is going to be close. I feel like this is going to be again a one possession game. 3 points or less. I wouldn't take this game to beat the spread. I would take it within the points. But I am picking the Texans to go in and answer some questions. Go into Indy where they haven't always had success. And I don't want to say it's a coming out party for CJ Stroud because you are still facing L'Jarius Sneed and EJ Speed, L'Jarius Sneed, Zaire Franklin, all those guys on the other side of the ball, guys like DeForest Buckner, Grover Stewart, guys like that who are going to be testing this offensive line. But I do feel like that DeMeco Ryans finds a way to scheme up and coach his way to a win in week 1. Did I lose you, Andy? Hold on, we got some technical difficulties right now. Always happens. Let it be done for week 1. We'll bring Andy back in here in a minute. But we're gonna move on to the Dallas Cowboys and the Cleveland Browns. Dallas at Cleveland. Cleveland's 2.5-point favorites. There's Andy. He's coming back. Lost you for a second there, Andy. Still a little behind. Andy, do I got you back? Nope, he's off. He'll come back here in a second. But we're gonna move on to Dallas and Cleveland. Cleveland opens up as 2.5-point favorites. Dallas on the road, natural grass surface, a physical defense. Typically games that Dallas does not like to play. And with all the turmoil surrounding the team, here we go. There's Andy. Wouldn't be week 1 without some technical difficulties. We'll pick up on the Texans before we come back to the Browns. You picked the Texans as well to win week 1.
I did. Again, I think, like we said before, I think they have the momentum going. I know Indy's going to be a tough team, but man, I think they have all the, I think they have the pieces to make this work. And I think CJ Stroud's going to step up again and show that he can be that MVP candidate. Yeah.
I think this is going to be a game that you really kind of see CJ Stroud build on. But and again, I'm going to be looking for Anthony Richardson to kind of A, stay healthy, and B, see if his game at all can work against a good defense. Moving on, so we go to Dallas at Cleveland. Cleveland 2.5-point favorites. As I was saying before we came back on the road, natural grass surface, outside, not typically games that Dallas likes to play. It's going to be a gritty, physical, hard-nosed game, and the Cowboys don't typically do well in those.
No, they don't. And I think that, I think with all the stuff between, just getting CeeDee Lamb so late, trying to get him plugged in there, get him going, I think that's going to be a slow start for him for sure. Obviously, outside has always been great for them for sure. I think Cleveland, like you said, maybe their offense isn't, going to be popping it enough, but that defense though is what's going to keep them, keep them in this game and keep them alive for sure.
And I would say the game plan is pretty simple. Hold CeeDee Lamb down. Keep CeeDee Lamb in check. Let these other guys go out and try to do what they can do and try to make Dallas run the ball, because they're trying to make 5 running backs into 1 running back with them just signing Dalvin Cook as well. So, I believe I saw something come out that they've listed Rico Dowdle as running back as RB1. So you don't know what you're going to get out of the run game, and CeeDee Lamb is really the only threat through the air. Ferguson maybe, but this is a defense that knows how to handle this situation. And we both are in agreement. I think we're in agreement on all of our picks this week. I've got the Browns. You've got the Browns. And probably going to be having some questions to answer with the Dallas Cowboys after week 1.
Yeah, I think we're going to see what they're all about. Can they get it together? Can they get past a really good defense? Can they make those plays, or are they just going to get stopped up and kind of scrape it by and get some points on the board? And, again, we'll see if, like we talked about earlier, we'll see if that Deshaun Watson wants to, show up, and we'll see what happened down that part of the ball too.
We're going to move on to the last game in our game previews, and this one I picked just for you, Andy. The Monday night opener, the Jets go to San Francisco. This is probably our biggest point spread of the game previews. Niners open up as 3.5-point favorites. ESPN's trying it again with Aaron Rodgers on Monday night. Hopefully he doesn't. Hoping he doesn't tear his ACL 4 plays in. This is going to be, no matter what you say and think about Aaron Rodgers and what's going to happen around this team, the Jets have a really good, really physical defense. This is a 49ers disciple going up against Kyle Shanahan himself. I feel like this will be a defensive game, a really physical, hard-hitting defensive game between the Jets and Niners.
Yeah, I think so. I think, big question is if how quickly and how often can we get to Aaron Rodgers? That's always, even when he was in Green Bay, if we can get to Aaron early, man, it just throws him off for the rest of the game. And that's how we've had success for him, anytime we've met him in the playoffs when he was playing with Green Bay, and you're going to have to be watching, we're going to have to make those, that defense is really going to be the big factor to how often and how quickly can we get to Aaron to throw him off that game. And then, hopefully our offense will, now that we've getting everything all up and going, we can get that run game and, get Christian McCaffrey going, get Ayuk in there, Debo, and just go ham on it.
If you like defense, I think you're going to like this game. If you like hard hitting, I think you're going to like this game.
Absolutely.
But I think that Brock Purdy at this point in his career is more in command of his team than Aaron Rodgers is going to be. And I feel like he is more – the team has coalesced more around him and has gelled more as an offense than they have around Aaron Rodgers. They didn't even get to get their feet wet with Aaron Rodgers in the regular season last year. So they're going to be learning each other right off the bat. And I'm not going to lie. If I'm the Niners, I would rather open against the New York Jets than catch them November, December. Because by that point, who knows? The Jets may have something. But
yeah, I think if Rodgers can stay, if he stays healthy and stays consistent, yeah, he's scary. Again, there's a reason, he has put up the career he has because he can make it happen, especially down the stretch. So I think to see him, first off, I agree. It's much better to get we're not a gelled team, Jets, than one that has had those games and those battles before him.
It's going to be interesting to see if Aaron Rodgers moves. If he runs, if he tries, because that's one thing that Aaron Rodgers has been good at is getting it done with his legs. He's in his 40s, torn ACL, not necessarily the easiest to come back from. So I don't know if we're going to see if Aaron Rodgers becomes a statue in the pocket. Man, he might be dead in the water. That's why you and I both have the Niners winning this game, 0-1 for the Jets, spoiling the return of Aaron Rodgers. And I think the Niners kind of make a statement with this game. I'm going to pick them more than 3.5.
Yeah, I think we have to. I think we have to go out there and we have to, whether people want to believe that, you could throw any quarterback, I think in the Shanahan system, I think Brock, helped push past that last year. But now that we have so many returning players, so many things that have gelled so well, I think we just take exactly what we had last year, turn it up a little bit, and just keep on going.
Yeah, no, I'm high on the Niners this year. I believe they're one of my NFC Championship picks. We may even get an NFC Championship rematch. But a full slate of games. I may have my full picks up here pretty quick, probably in the next day or so with the extra point. But that does it for our game previews for the show. Now we get to go into a little bit of something I like to call the extra picks. These are the little things that I have picked out that I might be watching for in this game. If you want to bet on them, you can. If you lose, don't blame me. I didn't tell you to bet on them, but these are things that I might be looking for. If you want to bet on them and win some money, hey, shoot a little my way. But these are the extra picks. Right now, I've got Caleb Williams, 2+ touchdowns in his debut against the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, I think I'd take that bet. I think, he's going to be as dynamic as he possibly can. Being up, being that many, absolutely. I could totally see that for sure.
The other one I've got, speaking of the game we just talked about, the New York Jets, I've got Aaron Rodgers, 2+ interceptions against that San Francisco defense.
Man, I'm in agreement. Because I have a feeling if the game starts to be that defensive battle, starts to get real gritty, Aaron's always been trying to make that play happen. But you got guys like Fred Warner out there who love to just read it and pick it. They love to be in there. So yeah, I could totally see that.
And the last one for the night, this one's going to go into our opener. Derrick Henry, 100-plus rushing yards against that amazing Chiefs defense.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if it gets real close. For sure, he's gonna want to show that he still has it. He's still, to see what they have in this kind of offense. I think I have a feeling they're probably gonna hand him the ball quite a bit.
The thing that I'm going to be interested in is seeing how much the split of the run game is between Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. I think there may be some games this year where Derrick Henry doesn't break 100 yards, but he's making big runs in big moments. I wouldn't surprise me to see his yardage drop this season for his total overall rushing yards with the Ravens drop this season, just because he's having to split with Lamar Jackson.
I mean, you could see him, take up that role of, he's taking the block. He's opening that hole for Lamar. Who's gonna? A full-fledged, Derrick Henry running at you. Good luck.
Yeah,
good luck. He's gonna run you over, and
he's got a good offensive line, and they've got a great offensive line. Well, that's going to do it for week 1, guys. We are less than 48 hours away from the return of the National By God Football League. Thank you, Andy, again, man. Always fun. Again, like, share, subscribe. Shout out to my sponsor, the Phone Medic of Amarillo Canyon and Lubbock. Andy, anything else before we go?
No, man. I'm just ready for some football. I'm ready to get this going. Ready to have it on the TV all the time, and just we get to talk about it every week. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and so I want to shout out to my sister Rebecca. She delivered her baby girl this week. Happy birthday, Emerson, 5 pounds. I can't wait to meet you. Your Uncle Ryan already loves you very much. But yeah, that does it for the extra point this week, guys. 8:30 Tuesday nights, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. Go check us out. Again, like, share, and subscribe. But until then, welcome to week 1. Happy football, everybody. Goodbye. Good night.